Hey, welcome back to my channel. I'm Brian. Today we're not in the shop. We're outside in the great outdoors in the barnyard, the pasture. This is actually the pigs field here. I thought I'd show you something a little different today. I'm going to be doing some winterizing here. It's November like 10th. It's like 25 degrees this morning, so it's time to get all the freeze-proof water systems set up for all the animals. And I'm going to start with the pig. And I'm going to show you this system, how it works, how I clean it, get it ready for this season, and we'll move on to the other ones after that. This is my system that I built a few years ago. This is its second version. The first one was a lot more complicated. This one's much more reliable. Of course, the first one worked off 12 volts DC, off a solar panel, and this one's a lot more reliable without all those big batteries. Anyway, basically we have a used, repurposed chest freezer. We have to have, of course, power. This is going down to the barn. This is a GFCI circuit. Okay, both of these are, live. One of these here plugs, powers a 320-gallon submersible pump, which you can see down at the bottom. Okay, and the other outlet powers, that's just a weather protecting flap, powers this here. This is a digital temperature controller, thermostat, and what this does is you can set a temperature and it will turn on a heating element. In this case, I'll show you that in a second. This will turn on the heating element when the temperature drops to 60 degrees, and it'll turn it back off when it gets to 65. So you can keep the water anywhere in between 60 and 65. Currently, I just plugged this in. This was in the barn for the winter or summer season. So I just plugged it in, and the temperature's 57.9 inside that tank. So the heat is currently on. See that? Okay. So anyway, like I said, this is plugged. They're both plugged into these separate outlets. You can plug one in, unplug it, however you want. I usually, for the summer, I disconnect the heat and I just leave the pump circulating the water through for the other 3 seasons, the non-freezing seasons. And then when it starts to get freezing, I connect this back up, plug it in, put the probe, here's a little probe wire going through the hole in the thing. I put some duct seal around there to keep it, bugs and stuff from getting in there. But anyway, the power cord goes over to here. I have a PVC junction box. I'm not going to take that off for you guys. Basically, that's just where the heating element is connected through that PVC junction box. And let me shut the pump off so I can show you a little more clearly. Actually, I'll shut them both off. I will show you there. Down there, that is a 120 volt 1500 watt heating element, like standard for like a hot water tank. And of course there's the pump, and that little gizmo there is the probe, and we have a hose that comes from the pump and comes to this outlet. This outlet comes through one of these insulated hose assemblies into this, passes in the inside, back out, and dumps into the tank. So this system keeps the water between 60 and 65, and it keeps the water constantly flowing through this loop. A little bit on this, I might be able to dig up a picture when I first built this. It's basically a wooden enclosure, and behind this here plastic cover plate is some galvanized pipe fittings that have hose connectors on the back and T's for these nipples to come out here. And I use galvanized iron pipe for a couple reasons. One, because I needed something nice and sturdy that wouldn't move around once it was all assembled, so I can just unwind and wind these hog watering nipples in and out to clean them or replace them, as the case may be, which I'm actually going to take them off and clean them. So anyway, in the inside of this box, once all the fittings were put in there, the inside of this box was filled with spray foam insulation. So that's all nice and well, I guess insulated as best as it can be. And all those hose lines you see are, it's actually garden hose that, you know, I cut the length, put the fittings on the ends myself. Then I put pipe insulation around it, wrap the pipe insulation in a good exterior duct tape. And then once these connections were made to these other fittings, you know, the in and out, because there's a hose connector back in here. Once those connections were made, I covered that with, you know, little pieces of pipe insulation, and then wrapped the whole thing up with this insulating foam tape. Now this probably only going to last one more season before I need to replace that, because I didn't put any duct tape over that. I probably should have. Anyway, so that's basically a rundown of how the system works. Warm water keeps recirculating, and the trick here is to keep the water warm enough so that the heat flowing through the water conducts into the metal nipples and keeps them from freezing. And I've only had a couple instances of these things freezing up a little bit, and some of the most brutal cold weather we've had. And actually, even when they do freeze up, all you'd have to do is work this nipple tip thing around a little bit, and it breaks that little bit of ice, and it starts flowing. And then once it starts flowing, it keeps itself freed up. And the pig will usually do that all by herself if it freezes up. But generally, it works like a charm. No maintenance at all needed. So let me show you what I'm going to do here today, since I'm just setting it up. I just plugged back in the heater and tested it, so it's working. You never know. You unplug something one time, might not work the next time. So what I'm going to do is drain this tank, because it's due. I drain it about every 3 months. I drain it out, clean it up, fill it back with water, put a capful of bleach or two in there, just to be on the safe side. This can hold 46 gallons of water. Now that the tank has been drained and cleaned, and the nipples have been cleaned. Actually, I replaced these because the mineral deposits on the inside of the ones that were on there, it needs to soak overnight in some CLR stuff to remove those. So I have a couple spares that you keep on hand, and I just swap them out. Anyway, before I filled this back up and got her running, I wanted to show you a couple things in case someone was interested in a little bit more details. Again, down there you see that's a 320 gallon per hour submersible pump, 120 volts. That is the 120 volt, 1500 watt AC heater element. There's a bulkhead fitting. That's how I go through the tank to get these watertight, is you use a bulkhead fitting. I'll show you those in a second. These are 1/2 inch bulkhead fittings, pipe thread. And the one for the heating element is a 1 inch bulkhead fitting, 1 inch NPT pipe. Okay, so, and I also uncapped the PVC junction box to show you how the heating element is in there. Just wired right up, and the body of this is grounded through that screw into the body of the chest freezer, just as insurance, I guess. All right, so you can see the back of the bulkhead fitting there. You just drill through. You need 2 size hole saws. You need to drill one to go through the outer shell of the chest freezer, and you'd also drill through the insulation till you get to the inner wall, and then you drill the appropriate size hole for your bulkhead fitting. And here I brought a spare bulkhead fitting out. Now this is for 1/2 inch pipe, like the ones that are at the top there. Again, that is a 1 inch, which fits this here spare. Yep, always keep a spare, guys. 1 inch pipe thread here for this spare heating element. Okay, so you see you have to drill a hole in the outside of the shell big enough to clear the entire bulkhead fitting, but the inside hole is big enough just to, clear the this side of the fitting. And then it's got a sealing gasket. You put that all on there, and you're good to go. So that's how you go through the side of the tank. Up at this area, you can see there's a cover plate. I actually cut a big hole instead of drilling 2 holes with the hole saw. and I put the fittings that needed to come out of there and elbows down, and then I put this cover plate on and I filled that inside there with spray foam insulation as well. So I thought I'd show you that. Here is the nipple drinkers that I got, I think, at Tractor Supply, just in case you're interested for the model number. They're good. That's all stainless. And I guess I'll put links down in the description box if anyone wants to, because I got most of, well, I got this, and I know I got the heating thermostat controller off of Amazon. I'll put some links for them in case anyone's interested in sourcing the parts a little bit easier. All right, so let me fill this thing back up, button it up, and I will show you it operating real quick before we end this video. She's all filled up, and before I turn the pump on, I wanted to show you something. See those bubbles coming off the heating element? Yeah, that's how you know it's working. Don't touch it when you see bubbles. Up and running, nice clean fresh water. Top her off a couple times this winter, and she is good to go. So that's it for this video, guys. Got a little longer than I thought, so I'm gonna have to show you the chicken and the horse watering systems and all that in a separate video. Stay tuned for that, coming up, I don't know, a couple weeks. Till the next one, have a good one. Okay, guys, it's like, I think it's 2 or 3. Just gave her some cookies. It's 3 degrees Fahrenheit out. Tank is like 61 point, sorry, that's 64, I think. The LCD screen is cold. Good there. And nipples are floating. Pig's got water. Oh, and there's like a 15-mile-an-hour wind. It's like minus 10, 12 with the wind chill factor, supposedly. The chicken nipples are certainly going to be frozen. The nipples, that is, not the water. But these metal ones conduct the heat, so they're all good. Oh, it's January 30th, I think.